A frigid wind swept through the desolate urban streets. As dusk settled over the city, a bitter reminder of time's relentless passage. In a narrow alleyway, where neon signs flickered uncertainly against peeling concrete and the stench of decay, mingled with the sharp tang of winter rain, Marcus Pierce huddled beneath a tattered, threadbare blanket. Once a proud soldier, Marcus now wandered these harsh streets as a disabled, homeless veteran, burdened by memories of a time when he fought for his country and lost everything in the flames of war. His leg, a casualty of relentless combat, had been replaced with a crude prosthetic that clicked with each labored step. But it was not only his body that bore the scars of conflict. His mind, racked with PTSD, echoed with the voices of fallen comrades and lost love, leaving him adrift in a world that had long since forgotten him. On a night when the rain showed no mercy, its relentless drumming on corrugated metal and cold, slick pavement, a harsh symphony of despair, Marcus sat alone on a damp concrete bench. The bitter cold had seeped into his soul, and hunger gnawed at his insides like a feral beast. His world was a mosaic of aching loneliness, shattered by the absence of family, community, and purpose. The storm of his thoughts was as relentless as the winter rain, and for a long, agonizing moment, he considered ending it all, escaping the endless night of his suffering. Then, from the murky shadows near a dilapidated construction site, a low, insistent bark cut through the monotony of the storm. Marcus's tired eyes, dulled by hardship and despair, lifted toward the sound. There, half hidden by a rusted chain-link fence and illuminated by the weak glow of a street lamp struggling against the night, was a stray German shepherd. The dog, emaciated and limping with a painfully obvious injury, regarded the world with wary, haunted eyes. Every shudder of its thin frame, every deliberate, slow movement, spoke of a life of hardship and abandonment. For a long, suspended moment, their eyes met two broken souls reaching out across a gulf of shared suffering. In that silent exchange, Marcus recognized not just a fellow victim of life's cruelty, but an unexpected spark of connection, a glimmer of hope that perhaps redemption might still be possible. The dog's coat, once likely thick and vibrant, was now matted with rain and grime. Its breaths came in soft, labored pants as the creature struggled to stand. Marcus could feel the weight of its sorrow, as if the dog carried all of the world's forgotten grief within its gentle gaze. With hesitant resolve, Marcus shuffled toward the canine, every step a battle against the dark tides of his own despair. He knelt down, his weathered hand slowly extending in a gesture of quiet compassion. "Hey there," he murmured, his voice rough from disuse and laden with unspoken pain. "You look like you've been through hell too." The dog, thin, injured, and clearly scarred by a life on the edge, flinched momentarily before inching forward, as if compelled by a force greater than fear. Marcus could see a small wound along the dog's flank and a faded patch on its side that read like an old service marker, a relic of duty hidden beneath layers of neglect. In that moment, Marcus decided that neither of them deserved to suffer alone. With shaking hands and a heart heavy with memories of loss and regret, he wrapped his worn jacket around the canine and carefully hoisted the fragile creature against his chest. Determination flared within him, battling against the swirling pain of his past. "I'm not giving up on you," he whispered, as if promising both the dog and himself that there was still a reason to keep fighting. Days later, in a cramped, shelter-like room of an old rundown community center, Marcus tended to the dog as best he could. He named his newfound companion Ajax, a name that resonated with the echoes of his military past, a reminder that loyalty and courage could still be found even in the darkest corners of life. Ajax, though still shivering and weak from days on, the unforgiving streets began to show signs of trust. At first he was distant, a silent, wounded creature, wary of any touch, but gradually, Marcus's gentle care and persistent kindness coaxed him into accepting the comfort of a warm meal, a soft blanket, and the simple, compassionate words of his new friend. In the dim light of early morning, with rain still tapping lightly against the broken windows, Marcus would cradle Ajax as he recounted memories of days when he was an active soldier, a time when the thunder of explosions and the roar of battle had been the backdrop to brotherhood and sacrifice. In those moments, Marcus felt the heavy burden of his PTSD ease, if only slightly. He remembered the loyal German shepherds he had once trained and fought alongside partners who had shared in the terror, the triumphs, and the raw, unfiltered pain of war. Ajax, with his soulful eyes and quiet determination, had become a mirror reflecting the resilience Marcus thought he had lost. Each day, as Marcus began to rise with the sun, its feeble light seeping through the grime-covered windows, he found solace in small routines. He would fetch discarded food from local dumpsters, wash it in cold water at a makeshift sink in the center, and share it with Ajax, whose grateful eyes would glimmer with fragile hope. Together they navigated the tough urban landscape, sometimes sleeping on a park bench beneath harsh streetlights, sometimes finding shelter in the hidden nooks of dilapidated buildings. With every step, Marcus felt a subtle change, an awakening of something that had long lain dormant, a spark of purpose that came from caring for another living soul. One crisp afternoon, as the chill of late winter brushed against the city and the world outside was painted in somber hues of gray and blue, Marcus noticed something unusual about Ajax. The loyal dog, once resigned to silence and pain, began to nibble gently at his side, a curious patch of skin where the fur had worn thin. On closer inspection, Marcus realized that Ajax bore a faded service tattoo, a small emblem on his shoulder that hinted at a past of honor and duty. His heart pounded as memories of long-forgotten letters and briefings surfaced. Ajax had once been a proud military working dog, deployed alongside soldiers who had risked everything on distant battlefields. The emblem was tarnished now, but its meaning was unmistakable, a symbol that Ajax, like Marcus, was a veteran, a survivor of horrors that few could ever comprehend. This revelation deepened their bond immeasurably. Marcus began to share stories of his own battles, not just those fought on foreign soil, but the internal wars of guilt, regret, and isolation that had followed him home. In his voice, rough and quavering with emotion, he spoke of lost comrades and the friends he had seen perish. Each word was a confession, a catharsis that let the pent-up sorrows flow like a long overdue rain. For the first time in many years, he allowed himself to feel truly seen by Ajax, whose unwavering gaze and gentle presence were proof that even the most broken souls could find solace in companionship. As winter slowly gave way to the hesitant blush of spring, life began its gradual transformation. Marcus, aided by the healing presence of Ajax, started to regain a sliver of hope. The once grueling days of endless struggle began to soften, replaced by the promise of small victories, a warm meal shared, a fleeting smile from a kind stranger, the tender comfort of a loyal friend by his side. They began to train together in the quiet parks and vacant lots that dotted the dilapidated corners of the city. Marcus would coax Ajax through simple commands, and in turn, the dog offered not only obedience, but a spark of joyful resilience. A silent reminder that the ravages of time and trauma could be overcome by the sheer force of love and determination. Then, one fateful night that would etch itself into the legacy of their shared journey, Marcus experienced a dire medical emergency. Late in the evening, as darkness draped itself across the city and the chill air stung his cheeks, Marcus felt a sudden, crushing pain seize his chest. His vision blurred, and for a heartbeat, the world seemed to collapse in on itself. In that desperate, terrified moment, Marcus found himself alone once more in the deep shadows of fear, till Ajax, ever alert and instinctively brave, sprang to life. With a ferocity that defied his weakened state, Ajax barked and raced through the labyrinthine corridors of their modest shelter. His paws pounded against the cold, hard floor as he ran toward the open door, his voice a desperate call that echoed out into the night. Outside, a neighbor who had long remained indifferent to the homeless veteran's plight heard Ajax's insistent barks. Alarmed and curious, she rushed to the door and, upon seeing Marcus collapsed on the gritty pavement, immediately dialed emergency services. In the surreal, agonizing moments that followed, Marcus's life hung in the balance. As paramedics arrived, their efficient, urgent voices trying to stitch the broken fragments of his battered body together, Marcus's eyes flickered open to see Ajax lying faithfully at his side. The loyal dog nudged his hand gently, his dark eyes shining with an unspoken promise of protection and undying care. In that exchange, a man and his canine partner locked in a silent dialogue of survival. The bond between them blazed with an intensity that defied the cold logic of life and death. News of Ajax's heroic intervention spread like wildfire. A neighbor's smartphone had captured a brief but extraordinary video of the loyal dog's desperate dash through the rain-soaked night, raw, unfiltered testament to a love born of shared hardship. The clip, uploaded to social media, struck a universal chord, and soon hashtags and headlines celebrated the story of a homeless veteran saved by his brave retired military canine. Donations poured in, offers of housing and medical care accumulated, and the community, moved by the tale of redemption and sacrifice, rallied around Marcus and Ajax. In the ensuing weeks, support transformed Marcus's grim existence. He was taken in by a local non-profit dedicated to helping veterans, where he was provided with proper medical care, a safe place to live, and a chance to rebuild a life he thought was long lost. With each day in that warm, sunlit recovery center, Marcus rediscovered fragments of his former self, one filled not with the numbness of despair, but with a cautious optimism fostered by the unwavering presence of Ajax. The once silent, broken veteran now found his voice in quiet conversations with other survivors, sharing the story of how one stray dog had rekindled a spark of hope when all seemed lost. As the months turned into a new season of renewal, Marcus and Ajax became inseparable pillars of hope in their community, a living testament to the redemptive power of loyalty and love. Marcus learned to smile again in genuine moments of joy as he watched Ajax frolic in the gentle spring rain, his once limping gait growing steadier with each careful step. Together, they participated in local events commemorating the sacrifices of veterans and celebrated the strength that emerges from shared struggle. Every quiet morning walk, every whispered word of encouragement between them, re-established the belief that life, no matter how battered, could still be beautiful. The story of Marcus and Ajax reached beyond the confines of their small urban haven. A televised feature on a national news network showcased their journey, a poignant montage of rain-soaked streets, heartfelt interviews, and candid moments of mutual rescue. The segment, brimming with raw emotion and underscored by a moving score, cemented their status as symbols of resilience. People from every corner of the country were touched, and soon fundraisers were launched to aid in the healing of homeless veterans and support retired military service animals. Marcus, once resigned to a life forgotten by society, found his story transforming from one of despair to an emblem of hope and renewal. Time as it does continued its steady march. The bitter chill of winter receded into memory, replaced by the gentle warmth of summer evenings when the city's concrete and steel softened under the caress of golden light. Marcus, now in stable health and living in a modest but secure home provided by generous supporters, embraced a new chapter in his life. He spent his days volunteering at community centers, helping fellow veterans find hope, and even mentoring young people interested in learning about the sacrifices made by those who had served. And ever at his side was Ajax, no longer the stray wandering the rain-soaked alleys, but a dignified symbol of loyalty whose faded service tattoo now shone like a quiet badge of honor. On a particularly radiant afternoon, when the sky was a brilliant canvas of azure and the laughter of children filled a nearby park, Marcus sat on a well-worn bench with Ajax resting his head in his lap. The gentle hum of life echoed around them, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of birds, and the soft murmur of grateful voices in a world that had learned, little by little, to honor its forgotten heroes. Marcus's eyes, once haunted by memories of loss and sorrow, now sparkled with the light of hard-won peace. He stroked Ajax's ears slowly, as if committing every moment to memory, knowing that their connection was not defined solely by what they had endured, but by the beauty of second chances. In that timeless moment, a quiet tableau of redemption and mutual healing, Marcus whispered, "You saved me, boy," in more ways than one. Ajax's eyes, deep pools of enduring loyalty, seemed to answer in silence, his soft whine carrying all the gratitude and love that words could never fully express. Years later, when Marcus's journey finally reached its inevitable close, the community honored his memory with a heartfelt tribute. A mural was painted on a brick wall in the heart of the city, a luminous display depicting an old veteran and a noble German shepherd side by side against a backdrop of rain-washed streets and hopeful sunrise. The plaque beneath read, "In every loyal heart hope endures, in every act of love a life is redeemed." Ajax, now aged yet unwavering, continued to roam the streets with quiet dignity, a living monument to the enduring bond that had once saved a broken soul. In the gentle twilight of his final days, Marcus lay in peace, knowing that he had been given a second chance, a chance to heal, to love, and to be loved in return. And even as he closed his eyes for the last time, Ajax remained close, a steadfast guardian of memories and of a promise that even in the darkest moments, the light of loyalty and compassion could guide one home. Thus, the story of Marcus Pierce and Ajax, the wounded veteran, and the brave retired military canine, who found each other when all hope seemed lost, became a symbol of redemption and the enduring power of love. Their journey, forged in the crucible of loss and tempered by shared courage, reminded the world that sometimes the greatest battles are fought not on distant battlefields, but in the quiet struggle within one's own heart. And in that relentless, beautiful struggle, even the most broken souls can find solace and meaning. Thank you for joining us on this deeply personal journey, a journey of loss, transformed by loyalty, of despair redeemed by hope, and of two kindred spirits who, through their unyielding bond, discovered that every ending can lead to a new beginning. If you believe in the power of love, the healing strength of compassion, and the miracle of second chances, follow along for more stories that celebrate the resilience of the human spirit and the extraordinary bond between those who dare to love against all odds.